Okay guys, so welcome back to today's video. We are in this very cool, in my opinion, slightly overland themed modified Range Rover Vogue. Very good item on the market at the moment. There's a lot of these out there ranging from the worst ones. I've seen sub £1,000 one. Do not buy that car. Do not buy one of these for sub £1,000. This one's actually on the higher end, nicer end, I would say, of the market. Although it's got 157,000 miles, which we will be driving this in a minute. We'll see what that's like. We'll go through some specs right now. So this is the 3.6 litre TDV8, quite a nice throaty engine. This one's had a stage 1 remap, about over 300 horsepower, 700 newton meters of torque. So this isn't a factory car or a factory Range Rover, so we will be testing, yes, the modifications and see what it's like on road, because you can buy a base spec one of these and, you know, go this way if you really want to. It also has a 2.5 inch lift on the original air ride, so it still retains its air ride quality, which is quite nice, but it has that 2.5 inches of more clearance. So around 6 inches of clearance, the owner was saying that this car has now. It's on 32 inch tyres as well, on some later gen Range Rover wheels. That box delete, so it does sound really throaty, this one. It's a later gen 07 plate pre-facelift. There's a couple of revisions, you know, nothing really wild to talk about, but this is the slightly nicer version of the pre-facelift, I would say, before they went into the facelift variants with the different lights and various bits like that. But it has had a few, of course, you know, grille modifications. So we do have a front grille, the side grills, they're all from a supercharged Range Rover of the same generation. Just makes it look a little bit better. We have a roof rack. This actually is a Land Rover roof rack, but it's a factory option that this one didn't have, so it's quite nice to actually have that. I don't see many of these generation Range Rover Vogues with that roof rack, so that's quite a cool feature. This one also has optional TVs in the headrest, which the owner's got working. He's got the headphones and everything to go with it, so that's a really cool feature for people in the back. Overview of running though, before we do start: £700 a year, it's like 695 if I remember correctly, tax on this, so bear that in mind if you are after one. About 700 quid a year to tax it. You'll be getting around 20 mpg. This one's getting 20.1 as we are driving around right now, and it's insurance group 50. Of course, everyone knows the Range Rover stuff that's happening, you know, sort of at the moment, you know, early part of 2024, a lot of them getting nicked, the newer ones. I think this might have filtered down into the older ones as well, so these are maybe slightly more expensive than they used to be to insure. And price, this one, you know, that we're in today is probably on the higher end of the pre-facelift, so it's around, I'd say it's around 6 grand, even with that mileage. You know, it's a well sorted, nice, you know, slightly modified Range Rover Vogue SE. But of course, we are going to start today's topic with the idea of these being under 2 grand. There was, I honestly looked at one the other day that was 750 quid pre-facelift. I think it had a BMW 3 litre diesel engine in it, and I was like, that's so much. It was like a dodgy colour, but I was like, that's so much value for money. I started looking at the pictures and going, oh, that's a bit hurt. It looks like it's had a life. And then I realised that it had no rear wheel arch left. Something to point out about these, again, if you're after buying one, open that rear door. If it's got any metal left, that's a shout. If it hasn't, walk away, because it's probably going to get expensive. If you don't know how to do that, I don't know how to do that. I would get someone to do that. It could go into the thousands very easily. The buying of these though is what I really want to talk about, because I've always lusted for a Range Rover Vogue, preferably a facelift, but this being a pre-facelift, we're sort of on the money for a later gen pre-facelift. What's it like to drive though? First thing, I've actually got out my VW Touareg today, so quite interesting to actually go from car to car. Power, a lot more power than my 2.5 litre VW Touareg. Obviously this is mapped up, so it's got a stage 1 on it. You don't want to go any further than that, I don't think. Owner's saying, you know, it has changed the dynamics of how the throttle pedal feels more than anything, so you do get a lot more response, which is quite nice. It drives quite, it's not as wafty as I remember them being. Maybe that's because of the suspension lift, so the blocks that are on that air suspension and the tyres. It does drive a lot more off-roady. I'm going to say it's off-roady. And that's just down to the one I'm driving today. Big, knobbly tyres, the suspension lift, a little bit of road noise from the tyres, but nothing too crazy to write home about. Very quiet in here though. In fact, for a car with that mileage, you know, a a Range Rover with that mileage. Yeah, it's quite nice actually. I do sometimes look at the mileage on cars and think it's going to have more suspension play, it's going to have more ball joint play, it's going to have more steering play. Driving this with two fingers, it's actually very, very easy to drive comfortably. Of course, this generation you have mid-2000s technology in front of you. I have put it in the off-ride, the 4x4 info screen in front of us, so we'll actually turn that back to your infotainment. We've got radio, it's got sat nav, but I mean it's dated sat nav now. You can change all this if you want. If it was me, I would probably get someone that actually knows what they're talking about to change the center infotainment system if you wanted an aftermarket. Although you still can connect your phone to this and take phone calls, it won't do much more than that. Heated steering wheel, we'll pop that on. Heated seats are on, and it wafts really, really nicely, this one actually. I'm genuinely impressed. The biggest thing I'm probably going to take away from this, and the first thing you should really look at while looking at these, I think, is go and drive it. Don't look at face value. It might have 200,000 miles on it, but the maintenance and the underneath has been kept up with it. It hasn't got, you know, crazy rust on the back of it. That's usually a very good indication of a nice one. This, although it's dirty, we're in the middle of January, it is still very, very nice to be in. And you would be deterred usually by them. Oh, I want a lower mileage one, or at least I would maybe. You know, looking at that going, oh no, the mileage, oh, I don't know, it might drive like a bag of, you know, spanners, but it doesn't actually. And that's exactly what it's about with these Range Rovers. You've got to go and view them, and yeah, you might go through 15 of these to actually find a relatively good one someone's actually looked after, like this one. Yes, the owner's modified it to his current taste, but he's kept up with maintenance, brake pads, various things like that, and that's very apparent when you drive it, and that's why you've got to go and drive these. I still don't think in face value you're going to find a very nice one that's going to tick the boxes for you. And then yet again on the ad it might say, oh, it's fantastic and this and that, and it's got low mileage, and then you jump in it and it just drives terrible. Of course, it wouldn't be a Range Rover video without talking about why they're so cheap. So the reason they are so cheap, of course, generations have come out. This is a so it's a first gen Range Rover from this era. Although it is a later pre-facelift, it's still got the technology from, say, you know, early 2000s. And yes, it's apparent, but I mean, it ain't a world away from maybe a previous gen before this, where you do really notice a difference. Even in 2024 now, it's not hard work to be in this. You've got a heated steering wheel, heated seats, lovely sound system. It rides lovely. Like, it ain't like a night and day thing. I think a lot of era correct mid-2000s stuff is still very capable of being a very good daily driver in 2024. And in my books, it does rival a newer car. So if you were going to, you know, finance a new car, say 15 grand, whatever, and you were looking at these, yeah, you're going to have a slightly bigger repair bill, don't get me wrong, if you drive this round and enjoy it. Maybe you take it off-roading, you know, you're going to come a cropper at some point. I don't think it's a bad place to be in. Yes, it will cost you money, and we all know that, and you wouldn't be watching this video without me saying that. But if you do buy a well-sorted one and keep it sorted, I don't think you're going to be in a world of pain. I would probably go down the route of trying to find one that's got good extensive service history, maybe replacement parts that are common flaws on these. It would be quite nice. It is refreshing though, because looking at the market, you see these, you see how cheap they are, and you think, wow, that's such a deal. With the mods that are on it, it's got, you know, £1,000 worth of tyres on it. So if you were going down this route and you wanted sort of an overland Range Rover, and you wanted it to look like this is sort of a pre-sorted one for you, pulling up into traffic, just go back to the interior, still very comfy place to be. It's very clean in here, which is quite nice. Doesn't show its age or mileage, which is good. No button wear more than anything, a little bit of wear here, but other than that, steering wheel's got no wear. Like, it's been cared for. And do you know what? It isn't huge. Cars are big these days. Cars are really, really big. So a Range Rover from this era, we go past a Porsche Cayenne there, so similar era car. I think that would feel a little bit more dated inside. The higher mileage one of them would probably feel very different. I've owned a equivalent version of this, so a 2005 Cayenne with 150 odd thousand miles on it, and I can tell you now, it did not drive like this car. It was a little bit more wallowy, had a little bit more use, had a lot more use in the feel of the drive. And we've made it into a little town, and it's not oversized here, which is quite nice. Big cars are big, doesn't necessarily feel huge going through, even with the lift and the tyres on it. It's actually quite pleasing to drive around. It is very different to my Touareg though. Very, very different to my Touareg. Boot for... yeah, she does go when she wants to. So with that, guys, we're going to end today's video there. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me below in the comments below, would you opt for a, say, 5-6 grand Range Rover? Would you do it? Would you put your money on the line for one of these vehicles? Let me know in the comments below. With that, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. We'll see you on the next one.